Richmond as state government, and he's doing coding instead of using any AI at all. Not even if it's wrong.
And the defense contractors have to use AI because they're building AI.
Yeah.
Defense contractors are like, they have their own like proprietary AI that they probably have.
Well, they need to make a
All right. My apologies, technical difficulty with the recording, but go ahead and get started. If anyone wants to log in with computer, feel free for Sec Fun, and that's actually this router right here connected to the couple of computers that we have going on. But just to get into a little bit about Metasploit. So, what is... There we go. There we go. So just want to start out with, this is for educational purposes. Please only hack systems that you have written permission to, that you own or written permission from the owner. Quick history about Metasploit. Of course, created by H.D. Moore. Before Metasploit was around, all the exploits, they were hard to find. You know, being a pen tester back in the early 90s, 2000s, when you did a pen test job for a company, you couldn't just say, hey, you have some vulnerabilities here. They'll be like, yeah, so what? They had to show them, like, this is what a threat actor could do. Well, there weren't exploits that the pen testers, they may not be coders, right? They would have a hard time finding these exploits to actually utilize these vulnerabilities to get in these systems to show these companies that, hey, this is why you need to fix this vulnerability. So, like, pen testers would have to go out on sketchy websites and, you know, download code that may or may not work and may or may not have its own malware inside of it as well. So that was a real threat.
Remember those cursor programs that changes your cursor? That was definitely all malware.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah, all sorts of things.
We were on dial-up, so it's all right. So the ability to attack us was very limited to dial-up speeds.
Yeah. No, a lot of limitation back then. But of course, you know, H.E. Moore, he was a pen tester. He went ahead and started getting all the exploit he had and put it all together. It's making it. And then in 2003, he made this free open source. When he started coming around with the second iteration of Metasploit, that's when the whole thought process of separating the payload from the exploit came into being. Because, like, yeah, you have to have the exploit to get into the machine, but what do you want from that machine afterwards? Do you want a reverse shell? Most of the time, yes. But like sometimes you want to be able to have a file transfer protocol, like file transfer server to be able to connect to it. So different payloads. So use your exploit to get into the machine, and then you can attach the payload to it now. A little Lego block system, like and off to the races. Figure out like what you want to put together to attack the machine.
Who's Rapid7?
Rapid7 is a fairly well-known security company. They purchased, you know, I should have put down when they purchased it. Probably in my blog. I got a lot more written up on let me bring up this slide.
Oh, these were the days of like Kazaa and like, you can just like, they gave you free like FTP. You're downloading things that were like gonna get took down to the MCA. They just gave you like full FTP permission. You're just logging their servers. Those are the days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a little blog that I have going there, willywillwill.blog, is you'll find the little Metasploit post that I posted up this morning, a lot more detailed. And just to let everyone know, the history part, I pretty much got all from the Darknet Diaries 114 episode, really great episode. Well, he has a lot of great episodes on Darknet Diaries, but of course, again, I referenced that down at the bottom of the blog for references. So key points. Of course, exploits takes advantage of specific vulnerabilities. The payload is what happens after you have a successful exploit of that machine. You got the, I've seen this a lot of times with you have the needle and syringe sort of analogy where the exploit is that needle to be able to get into that system. But what are you going to put in that syringe? What is the payload that you're going to inject into that machine? And of course, a common one is the remote shell. Metasploit is a shell that's not just a shell. It has a lot more power behind it. Be able to do a lot of different commands, and that which we can look at later on. Then, of course, uploading, executing. They also have different encoders to encode things that you're going to upload to the machine, and auxiliary modules, which I'll even show today for scanning, enumerating, seeing what's going on with the machine. There we go. And just going a little bit further about Metasploit, how it browses the file system, be able to view network connections, dump password hashes, capture window screens. In fact, I was playing around with recording the microphone on this computer over there when I was kind of putting this presentation together as well. It's really interesting, everything that it can do. And of course, down the bottom, if you're able, some exploits and will not actually, some machines won't be able to run Metasploit. But if you do have the option between a remote shell and Metasploit, it's definitely preferable to do that particular remote shell because of just the increased abilities of the things, recording the webcam and audio and things like that. Okay, so extremely short slide. This is pretty much the end of the slide, and now actually going into Metasploit to actually show it. So I'm going to close this. Now let's see here. Okay.
If you close that, does it continue recording?
It's still recording. I'm fairly sure it's recording on this screen. Is that? Yes, that's correct. And doing something completely brand new, and you know, it's can be difficult. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. No, this works. I will do it like this. Okay. So, MS. So first, I want to show you that I did go ahead and run IPA. You can also run, you'll see online it's IP space ADDR, I believe, a lot of time, but you don't actually have to write the whole thing out. You just do that. Gets you what you're trying to go for. I'm actually trying to shoot for the 10.84.42.1/24. I know the current IP for this machine is the 31 right here. That's what this one is. But that's the router over here that I'm going to be trying to attack today. Well, not trying to attack the router itself, but the laptop that has virtual machines running on that. So let's go ahead and start off by doing the Metasploit framework console. And comes up with a cute little ASCII art. You could have that not show by command like dash no show or something like that. I like showing it. So first one, we all know Nmap, or at least if you don't, like it's Nmap's. Nmap's a great tool to be able to do network reconnaissance. Of course, one of the first steps on penetration testing is reconnaissance, right? But Nmap, I mean, Metasploit has its own Nmap inside of it, which is DB Nmap. And I'm fairly sure this isn't going to work right away, and I expect it not to work right away because I kind of want to show you the error that I've seen and how to fix that error as well. So we're going to put SV -O .84.2 1/24. And so basically what this means is if you run a regular Nmap command, it would just be the Nmap without the DB dash. Then you have an attack SV, which is the, asking for the version, and the attack uppercase O is trying to ask for the operating system for that. So it's going to try to fingerprint the operating system to see what kind of operating system is running. And this is just us trying to get information of what kind of services are running on the machine and what kind of operating systems are running on the machine. Because once you find the services and once you find the operating system, then you start asking like, okay, what kind of known vulnerabilities do those services and operating systems have on it? So like I said, most likely going to fail, and I expect that because I want to show you how to fix it. Yep, see the database, and what we'll do here is exit. And to fix that, we need to start the Postgres service. And oh, there we go. I love Kali. It gives me all the stuff that I've done there in the past. So just the SQL database that Kali uses. And it doesn't just use it for Nmap, but also other sort of just keeping tabs of what exploits and payloads and everything else that's in there. There you go. And now, there you go. Give that a moment to scan the network. In fact, you know what? I'm going to stop that because I just realized people that connected to this router, I would be also scanning your machines. So I don't want to do that. Like, probably should talk a little bit about scope. Like, as a penetration tester, you have to know your scope that you're working with so you don't inadvertently scan things that people don't want you to scan. In fact, one of the stories on Darknet Diary was very interesting about a pen tester that it was in their scope, but the scope was given to them by accident, and the scope, they scanned a eye surgery machine, and they're like, oh no, I hope that we didn't mess something up in the eye surgery machine as someone that's having eye surgery. Thankfully, how much HIPAA did they get? Nothing happened. Nothing happened from at least that the episode. They said they were all good. Like nothing came about it. Like no one was using the machine at that time. It just, they scanned it, but no one was using it.
On that machine?
The what?
There wasn't anything stored on that machine? Patient files?
Maybe, but it was a legitimate pen test that they had authorization, and the company gave them authorization to scan that. The company just was like, oh, oops, we weren't supposed to give you authorization to scan that.
So they didn't have authorization? They accidentally gave authorization?
Yeah, trust me, I know about this, because whenever you're, say, departments can be kind of disjointed.
No kidding.
Exactly. And the security department, they're trying to do this pen test, and they don't know every single machine that's on the internet, or not in the internet, but or even in your company, right? But they have to get with all the other departments and be like, okay, what systems are we allowed to scan, and send it over to the penetration tester and give them this scope. Well, it seems like in this case, whoever that security department was for that company gave the penetration testers a list that included an IP address, that included a machine that they shouldn't have scanned. Like the company really didn't want them to scan, but there was like miscommunication inside of the company side, not the penetration side.
So they-
Yeah.
Nobody read through the list. I feel kind of like an AI kind of process company that's not like that.
Yep.
There need to be AI, just needs to be people just not paying attention.
People are not paying
I
attention.
work in health insurance, I've seen what happens.
Mhm.
People
And
just
sometimes you don't know what's been added or why it's been
people
added.
just generate.
Mhm.
People just go add stuff
And then-
without consulting
They
security.
just generate reports and send it. They don't read it. They don't proofread it or anything.
And then the crazy thing, because of dynamic DHCP, like the IP that they gave the pen testers may have been completely okay on last week.
Right.
But like now the IPs all got swapped up, and now like the eye surgery machine has a brand new IP that is on someone's list to do a penetration test. So there's a lot of issues that could come up.
Why you wouldn't give equipment like that a static IP?
Yeah.
I don't know for the life of me.
I agree.
Then people-
I agree.
But then people that are setting up the medical equipment may not be exactly expert sysadmins. So
Agreed. Like,
why are they on the same subnet as the other stuff?
yeah, unfortunately, when it comes to, especially if it's a smaller organization, right? Who knows?
They have to pay consultants a lot of money to fix that problem, you know? It's a
Yeah.
call
Yeah.
center.
All right, but back to Metasploit. Now that we've scanned it, let's go ahead and see what kind of services we have. Or actually, let's start with host. Host, that's it. Just type in host and see what we have. We got the list of IP addresses. I did, well, that was from my last time I scanned. Let me do this scan properly. That's 1 through 10. Actually, we'll do 1 through, no. I know the IP addresses just because like I made those virtual machines static IP addresses, and I made them between 10 and 20, and I believe the ones that actually matter are 10 through 15. I believe the ones that really matter are 13 and 14. In fact, I can look at that, 13 and 14 right there. So we'll scan it like that. Because like I said, if I did the 1/24, that's basically that entire last, it's escaping me, quartet? No. Forget the name for each of the what?
Octave.
Octet. Yes, thank you. Sometimes brain fart. Okay, now let's see if host. So yeah, same thing. But of course, the last. This is from my previous scans, so I probably should have done the command to flush these out beforehand. Which is like MSF init or re-init, something like that. But there is options to flush out your database, and so you can start over again. And let's go ahead and look at services. And of course, here you have all the different services. In fact, I want to point out one thing for this. I wonder.
I didn't notice when you're typing in the DB host command, you use .24 instead of .42.
I'm sorry?
When you typed in when you were searching for host, you typed .24 instead of .42.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably didn't detect anything.
Yep, it did.
In fact, there we go. Yep, host. So yeah, like the last screen for host, we can see the different operating systems. This one is right here is actually Windows, which I'm wondering why it didn't show up this time. It showed up at home, but of course I had to turn off the firewall to get that to show up on the scan. So it's not perfect, right? Like there's things that the user on the other end could do to stop Metasploit from working. There's actually a lot of things. In fact, what I'm using right here are really vulnerable machines, like the Linux one that's right there for the .14 at the end. That's a Linux machine for specifically used with Metasploitable 2 to be able to do this kind of basic intro into Metasploit. But then down here, when we click on run the services, we can see all the services, and from here you can actually start doing searches and do scanners. In fact, let's go ahead and use an auxiliary scan. Hey. Okay. Let's see here. Let's do a search. So we could do different searches, like do type and auxiliary, and we can see all the different auxiliary types that we have. But of course, we can also do searches for like name, SMB, and see just all the different types of things that you have for different scanners that you have available to you. Let's go further into this. Let's go ahead and use auxiliary scan for pick one, the SMB one. So use. And one of the things I like is the tab completion. Of course, sometimes there's so many that tab completion is probably not viable. SMB. Okay. Scanner. Okay. There you go. So now we're in the auxiliary scanner for SMB by typing in that command. And of course, we're able to see the different ones with the tab completion. In fact, if I type in back, we can go back. Go ahead and press up a couple of times to see this. And then if I press tab, double tab there, you kind of get to see your different options. So you get to choose, okay, what kind of scan do you want to do? And of course, for this particular one, I'm using, oh, and at this point, if anyone's curious where I got a lot of this information from, of course on the website, and I have different references, but a lot of the actual using Metasploit comes from this particular book. Basic Security Testing with Kali Linux, 3rd edition. Daniel Dieterle? I probably butchered that, so I apologize to Daniel. But of course, onto this. So let's go ahead and set, in fact, show options. So these, and you'll see the show options kind of a running theme when it comes to all the modules, right? This is an auxiliary module, but the exploit module, the payload module, like you can type in show options to see what we need. And it tells you right here, it's very upfront. It's like what's required. You have a column right there, yes, no, yes, for our host. So our host, remote host. And then you'll also see elsewhere lhost, which is your local host, what you're running on right now. Basically, right here is my local host, over there, my remote host. So let's go ahead and put in arrange the scan. Again, we already have what machines were on the network with our original network scan with Nmap to kind of do the reconnaissance to see what's out there. That wasn't a scan to see what's vulnerable. That was a scan to see just what is here. Now we're going to see, okay, out of all of these, are there any SMB vulnerabilities in there? So let's go ahead and set the R host. Set R host. And it doesn't have to be capital. It can be lowercase. Tab completion there. Except when I tab complete on that one, it just finishes up with host, but without the S. But you do need to set the R host for this one. In fact, this is what you get if you do just R host. Set R 10.84.22. Let's do 13 and 14. And it'll take the this way. You could put it in this way. You can do the slash whatever for the CIDR method. You can just put in single IP addresses, like IP address, comma, IP address. Very much similar to Nmap if you've used that. And let's show options again to make sure that that is in there properly. Basically use options a lot. Well, show options just to verify everything is correct a lot. And then of course, now that we're still in this particular module and you can see how we're in it right there, you just hit run. And that goes ahead and starts scanning away. I might go ahead and stop it early because yes, I've done this at home already, and it should probably show all the vulnerabilities that I've scanned for anyways. So there it goes. It was quick enough. So let's type in vulns. Vulns. See what kind of vulnerabilities we have. And again, this is earlier. That's why we didn't find any SMB scans this go around. The SMB scan should be the Windows VM that I have running. I have to probably tinker with the Windows VM to actually get that working. Well, of course, we have SSH and the Unreal IRC. kind of a sidetrack item. When whenever I've done this before, over the week or month, the SMB, the actual exploit for the SMB vulnerability was not part of Metasploit at first. To get that, you can actually go to websites such as ExploitDB to find those. And pull that up real quick. So exploit-db.com, and you can search many different exploits. That current Metasploit in itself on Kali, when you download Kali, it has many different available exploits. Go to exploit-db.com. It has many more that you can download. There's also Metasearchable, which I'm not going to go too far into with this discussion, but that's another way to search for exploits via your terminal. I just wanted to give that kind of tidbit. So yeah, let's go ahead and try to exploit our Linux machine with the IRC. To be honest, I know it's the Linux machine because of, doing this beforehand. But if you were doing this the first time, the way you would know it is, remember how we saw host earlier, and when you type in host, you can see the IP addresses, and right there again you see the host right there, ending in 14. And if you remember our host list, you'll notice that the 10.84.42.14 is that Linux machine. In fact, I'll just go ahead, type it again, so we can verify. Right there, and we can see right there, OS name, Linux. And again, that is because we did the Nmap scan with the -O that gave us the fingerprint scanning to tell what operating system that is. And when I say fingerprint, it basically means that Metasploit has a lot of information about different operating systems, different vulnerabilities, a lot of stuff in it. So when it does these scans, it will get a return call back from it. And each operating system has different things that it will send back, depending on that operating system. Not saying that you're going to get information about what the operating system is every time. Maybe they don't send enough information to really find out for sure. But in this case, of course, Metasploitable too. That's what it's meant to do, be exploited. So it sent back enough information to show what kind of operating system it's using. So let's continue on. So let's get into actually loading the exploit and using the exploit. And so use, and just a reminder, I'm shooting for this vulnerability Unreal IRC. So, and this is actually under Unix. In fact, let's do a search, because how would I know what exploits there are for IRC, right? Before we did a search for auxiliary, I had the special name in there that, well, actually I said type, and then it said auxiliary, so we were only searching for type auxiliary. We could put in type, exploit everything, but this time I'm just going to type in search IRC. And there we go. We got a bunch of different information about exploits there. The one we're going to use, number 43 there, you can see IRC Unreal with the IRCD 3281 backdoor. And just to show you this again, as you can see right here, pretty much says it right out there too. The IRCD backdoor. So let's do use exploit Unix. And again, what I'm putting in right here can be found whenever I searched IRC up here in, right there. Oh, perfect. So use that one and brought me right over to that one. And then, of course, again, show host. I mean, not show host, but show options. Again, as I was saying before with auxiliary and a lot of the different modules, show options. You get to see all the different options that you have available and what you need to put in. In fact, it's so much that I need to scroll up a little bit. There we go. There we go. And we can see a little bit further. There we go. R host. Like, we need the R host. You can see it right there. Yes, it's required. No, the current setting in R host is not set. Everything else, we need the L host. What's our IP address? Which we'll get that here in a moment. But everything else is pretty much set. One other thing that I want to point out on this list is the down here at the bottom, the target. What type of target are we going for? Now it puts it in here, and this one only really has the one option, but sometimes you need to even set the target. And of course, all you do is set target, and it gives you a full list of targets. If there's going to be a list, what I've noticed in the past that this is going to be automatic down there at the bottom. No guarantees that that's the case on all modules, because each module in itself, it's written kind of compact together with its oneself in Ruby, actually. Well, let's see here. Set our host. 14. I'm just going to do 14 because, of course, that's the one that we saw in Linux. Show options. We see that right here. Now we still need the L host, localhost, this machine. So one of the things that I really like about Metasploit is that it also allows you to interact with the terminal that is running underneath Metasploit. And I'm just going to put in what I put before, IPA. Now, this, I want to draw your attention to this small little line right here, right underneath it, exec IPA. Basically what that's telling you right underneath that is that's not a command being ran by Metasploit. That's a command that Metasploit used exec to push it to the shell and had our original shell run that. So instead of exiting out of the program, going back into the program, I can just run this shell command right from Metasploit, and it just pushes it to the shell, and it gives me what I need to know. And of course right here, what do I need to know? I need to know my IP address for the IP range that I'm on, which is 10.84.42.31. And of course, all these IP ranges are set by the router, which I tried to set up a IP address range that would not conflict with whatever Tech for Troops has. So let's go ahead and set L host 10.84.42.31. That correct? Yeah, 31. All right, there we go.
So why again does it need L host?
Because we're going to try to do a Metasploit, like the Metaterpreter. In fact, I'm going to do the payload. In fact, I think this one actually sets the payload to Metaterpreter already, but it sets it as a reverse TCP shell.
So you know who to
Exactly.
to.
Exactly.
Got it.
You're correct. Yeah, so basically, since it's going to inject that shell into that machine over there, that machine is going to need to know, okay, who do I need to reach back out to? So it needs the L host.
Do you think that would by default be the
You know, I've seen it in some modules where it just puts it in automatically. This one did not. And again, like I was saying, each module is written as itself. I wouldn't be surprised if you could probably just go in there, edit the Ruby code to make it where, like, okay, do an IPA, look for the IP address and put it in here automatically for the user. But in this case, it's not that. So let's go ahead and show options again. Verify everything's correct. The L host is in there now. The R host is in there. So all we really need to do now is set the payload. In fact, show payloads. There you go. All the different available ones. Right. But for us, I'm going to set payload set payload CMD Linux. Hopefully that works. It says not valid. Okay. Oh, I see. I need to set. Actually, wonder if all right, there you go. You probably typed it in wrong earlier. And then all we need to do is exploit. And hopefully this worked. Yes, it worked. It worked at home, but you never know with different variables if stuff like this is going to work while you do it. So I'm glad that it did. Here you can see what's the different items you have in here. You could do background to send this to the background, so you can do other things, except I did not type background in correctly, I guess. Yeah.
So that's the actual laptop.
Yes. Well, yes. Now, when I was in the Metasploit, that is this laptop over there. When I typed in background, I went back to this laptop so we can do other things in this laptop. But I just want to basically show you that so we can do sessions, so you can see the different sessions that we are. So you can actually have another session to another machine and start working. Like if you have multiple machines, start working them together and things like that.
So could you show that session in a different tab? That would be kind of cool.
You know what? I am not that experienced at this. I feel like I'm about like intermediate level, about my Japanese level. You know, enough to get around, but enough to be dangerous. So sessions-I, and then just 1, because you can see ID there, it's 1, and back in there, change directory. There's a root directory. You can do things like sudo remove -f, like delete the entire system, like things like that.
That'd be interesting to see in real time.
Yeah.
What if you didn't know its pseudo password? Isn't that something that you have to like, as part of the exclamation?
Oh yeah. Let's go ahead get the passwords. Cat etc password. Yeah, there you go. In fact, that's all the services as well. You probably don't want that.
It's also running an instance of NCAT.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's also running an instance of NCAT as well. Because I know technically sometimes NCAT runs with Nmap. So.
I honestly am unsure. Like, I don't think per se it's running in cat for here, but I want to say kind of yes too, because what is happening here with Metasploit, with Metasploit, it really has very similar activities. So no, it's not per se that program, but yes, it's would not be surprised if they took a lot of that same code and implemented that kind of behavior in this Metasploit activity.
Oh.
So yeah. So grep bash. Wait. Oh, it does not like the clear command, but that's okay. If I typed it in right. But you know, it still gives us the ones right there that has access to the bash shell. Well, didn't really use grep too well either, did it? Like I said, still got more things to learn. I feel like Metasploit is one of those applications that it's fairly easy to learn, like the good amount, you learn to get around, but it's one still hard to master. Easy to learn, hard to master sort of thing. But yeah, at this point, that's pretty much all that I have. Let's see here. Let's do help. Like many things, Meterpreter has an option for help. And then, like I was saying before, here's the different commands that you could do when it comes to the web chat, the webcam list. Of course, that one doesn't have any webcams. Well, of course, the laptop, it has webcams, but what it's actually connecting to is not the laptop, but it's connecting to a virtual machine on the laptop. So that virtual machine, I never gave it access to the webcam this go around. But it does have things like the mic, so we can do mic list. And things like that. So, questions?
How do you choose an exploit to use?
Yes, good. So, first, of course, when you choose an exploit, you have to be able to know what machine you're trying to get to, right? So that's where comes the reconnaissance part, where the very first command we're using is basically like an nmap command. But when it comes to that, the nmap includes what services are running, what operating systems are running. We have to know those first. You have to do your reconnaissance before you're able to actually know what kind of exploits that you're going to use. Once you know the services that are running, in this case, we saw that the IRC Unreal service 3.8 point something was running. Well, that's a vulnerability. And we have different vulnerability scanners inside there. It's like, okay, how do you know of all these services? What are vulnerabilities? Well, those are the scanners. You get to see like, okay, I see IRC. Let's see if we have a scanner for that. SMB, let's see if we have a scanner for that. SSH, see if there's a scanner for that. And because each of these applications, each of these services, there's many versions of these services. And why are there many versions? Because of course a lot of them have been found that there's vulnerabilities in them, and people have learned like, okay, this particular version of an application, it has this bug that we're able to get into this way and be able to do remote code execution on it. If there was no one out there if there weren't threat actors trying to break it and trying to get in for different ways, there would be no reason to create new versions of something unless you're just going to create something that has more options. A lot of times new versions will come out not because it has new options, but because there's new patches that have been added to that particular version, so it's not vulnerable. And of course, from there you just, once you got the scan of vulnerabilities, use that vulnerability to find the exploit.
Do my nmap commands work in Metasploit though?
I'm sorry?
Do my nmap commands work in Metasploit as well?
In that?
Nmap.
Nmap, yes. Yeah. The Metasploit actually has its own version of Nmap, which is db_nmap, and it basically runs the exact same way.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, who's next?
I'm not sure if I'm understanding this correct. Is the exploit the vulnerability in a service, and the payload is the script that attacks the vulnerability in that particular service?
No, so exploit is the script that, so your machine, that computer right there, has a vulnerability. It has a way to get in there. But to get in there, you need exploit code to get into the machine. That's basically all the exploit is to get into the machine. Once you have an in, maybe it's through an SSH shell, maybe it's a process that's running that you inject code into that process. The
remote execution part.
Exactly. So that exploit is just to get in the machine through that vulnerability. So here's the machine, here's the gap, exploit, made it through the vulnerability, but then of course the what goes in to that machine is the payload. So that's the whole thought about the needle and syringe idea, where the needle and syringe itself is the actual exploit, but the payload is what's inside of that needle, and it's injected into that machine, and then once that payload is into that machine, then it does whatever you want it to do, like provide a reverse shell, provide a HTTP server, provide a file transfer server, whatever you're trying to do for that particular machine. Yes, sir.
My question is about 0 days.
Mhm.
I mean, many of these exploits are based on known CVEs,
Correct.
which are vulnerabilities.
Correct.
So, in the case of a 0 day, and someone had the ability to make their own exploits,
Yes.
would they be able to use Metasploit to inject that?
Very much so. Yes. Like.
But you would benefit more from just reporting to the company and ask for a bug bounty, right?
I would report it to the company and get the bug bounty. Like, a threat actor would not do that, but you are correct. And I'm typing this real quick.
Or the code they pay, and if they don't, then just
Yeah. But so yeah, and that goes back to the concept of separating the exploit from the payload, because yeah, if a threat actor found a 0-day, or if a researcher found an exploit, and if they found a vulnerability, let's say a researcher found a vulnerability, reported that vulnerability to the company. And it was like, a company, you got a vulnerability, like, here it is. And the company's like, oh no, that's nothing. You have to have physical access to the machine to do anything. And like, then it goes back to the research. I'm like, okay, sounds good. And get like $100 maybe for that bug. They're like, well, let me write an exploit that, and they figure out a way, like, okay, now back to the company. So company, I actually found a way to use that vulnerability remotely with this exploit that I made. And see, now that Metasploit is separating exploits with payloads, you actually only have to write the exploit to get into whatever process that you're getting into. And then you could use that payload to push it in and then be able to control that computer in whatever ways that that particular exploit, that vulnerability allows. And of course, it all depends, because, like, yes, a vulnerability might be able to get into a machine, but does that give that particular person root privileges, or does that particular vulnerability gives them low-level permissions? Still, if it's any sort of permissions remotely, it's dangerous. So, but that's a possibility.
Software engineers who are just blindly accepting Copilot suggestions of depreciated code because of security vulnerabilities.
Yep. Yeah.
We watch them show this and dismiss those concerns. So that's the thing.
Yep. Yeah, like a lot of AI code now, like
When you feed it stuff from 15 years ago, you get code from 15 years ago.
The people who
With all
write
its
your
vulnerabilities.
The people,
Yep.
we watched a manager, he's like, first of all, like, he brought us like, why don't you just fix this code, there's a security vulnerability here. Someone's like, they get the DevOps job, and the one who's like organizing the meetup we were at, he's the manager, he's the upper level, the one who writes the connect and hire you, and he's like, whatever, just accept it. So that's that's management philosophy, so they're gonna be accepting a lot of vulnerable code because,
Creates more work.
Yeah.
Hacking, like, usually, like, IT hacking is considered like a cost center, and like defensive things like that are considered a cost center. They don't really care about the cost until you actually prove why they should care. And a lot of times, like, cheaper for them to just pay the ransom and just go on with their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
For some of the organizations that I've worked for, that extends to a lot of other IT operations.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing things like manually installing certificates, and we have to manually muck about with the admin console, including making sure not to press the big red button that says reset domain that happens to be right next to restart domain.
Mm.
And we have to do that on a tri-weekly basis for all the certificates we manage. And I've talked about trying to automate our certificate deployments.
Mm.
And the answer is, that's cool, but there's no will behind it because it is just a cost center, and we can't justify it to upper management.
But
Looking going, yes, let's not go with the system that won't cause the risk of one of the devs being a butterfingers.
But we'll pay so much money in AI, so,
Or
Mhm.
when it gets accidentally deleted, they'll pay a lot of money.
For us, it's our mainframe costs.
Mhm.
With also on the management side, there's always an obsession with velocity term.
Yeah.
It's just build, and it's like.
break fast.
Mhm.
That's part of philosophy, break fast. That means accept all the vulnerable code.
Well, with the most recent news, right? How do you pronounce the name again? I don't want to mispronounce. Mythos.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Like,
was gonna ring the bell.
I
Yeah.
actually-
Oh, tell me about that.
I'll-
yeah, basically like the AI that's so intelligent that's finding exploits that.
What they did was they basically supersized Opus in order to make a much larger model that was more performant. It was originally meant to just be better at coding, but an emergent behavior of it was that it is able to find vulns and exploit them way faster. I'm not.
But if
I'm
it's not
all-
released to the public, like how can
Well,
people verify this?
Well, hold on, it's,
That's
Mhm.
why that's why
Like, yeah, released a few companies.
It also seems to be a lot of marketing BS.
I was
Yes.
about to say
Mm, yeah, yeah.
Because
Oh, okay.
Miles is
Actually,
better
about
than
1,000.
Opus.
Because they
Is the
respond,
RVAsec.
because OpenAI's response is like, we have one of those too, and I'm like, okay, now you're on marketing this, it's like, it just seems like a marketing thing when OpenAI is like, yeah, we got this one too, like, just cause Slav is like, gotten the headlines, and I'm like, this sounds like marketing.
Yeah, it gets even worse when you realize they give Opus 4.6 really, really badly. People are seeing 2 nodes reduction and lose functionality.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
To where we
yeah.
get to Opus 4.5 and it starts working again or Sonnet.
Mm.
But then, yeah, but then you have to look like, the a lot of stuff you have to watch, like how fast you're eating through your tokens, and some of those changes that may or may not break your functions, may or may not be eating through your tokens language, and for some reason, we're not allowed to call that out, even though that seems like an exploit of your money.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like taking all your money.
Reduced tokens. Basically, there was one thing online, you
Like-
never know if it's real or not, but basically, they used it to sell it to Enterprise. Enterprise gets one version, everyone else gets the crappy version.
That makes sense. That makes sense why they would